What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we have an all new project in the shop. Last episode, I teased a blue GTX that I told you guys started myself on the journey of working on cars. When I was a wee lad, my dad had one similar to this car. So it was kind of cool to have it in the shop. And this one, I believe, is a 1966. Last episode, I said it was a 70. A lot of you guys said in the comment section it's a 65 or 66. I'm not sure, but here it is. 1966-ish Plymouth GTX. We're gonna be doing a full engine swap. I'm gonna do an unveiling a little bit later in the series and show you guys exactly what we're gonna put in this thing. And I promise it's not an LS, and you guys can comment below to see what it is. It's not a Viper engine either. I would have told you that right now if I was excited enough. It's gonna be something really cool though. First things first though, we need to get this thing up in the air and rip all of the old suspension out of the car, the brakes, all of the K-member and everything, because we're gonna put an all new front end on this thing, as well as a 4-link rear and mini tub, but that'll be later. But for right now, we're gonna dive into this thing. We're gonna rip everything out of the front end of the car that's antiquated from the 60s and start putting all our new bits in there to be able to get this car up to speed for the 21st century and ready for that new drivetrain that we're gonna be throwing in the car as well. So let's get the car in the air and start wrenching. Out, and we are in the clear. We got a big old opening now. What do you think? That was fun, right?
That was awful.
Got a whole pile of parts. We got our old suspension out, our old brakes. I don't really know if for the new suspension is torsion rod. I hope not. I see a Viking box over there, so I think it's probably coilover. So we're gonna go and clean all this up now, guys, and then we're gonna start unboxing all of our new kit. All right, we got a lot of goodies for the front end of our GTX project. So we got some Viking performance shocks. We got some tubular upper and lower control arms. We got a steering rack to get rid of that nasty steering box setup. And we have instructions for the rear 4-link system that's not for the front. Maybe the front is in here somewhere. So this is Control Freak Suspensions. Yeah, we're gonna do a 4-link later, guys, so that's a little teaser. So we got spindles, control arms. We got an all new K-member. This will accept the new geometry, our steering rack, and all of our goodies for the front of the car. And I think inside of these bags right here is the Hellcat motor mounts. So we'll be able to use just a direct bolt in for the Hellcat, but we'll have to make a new transmission mount, which is fine. Look like we have our springs up here, so we're gonna get rid of those nasty torsion bar suspension and use a nice coilover shock. That'll mount to the front of the car to be able to make it ride like 10 times better. We also have this adapter set up for the steering rack to the factory steering column, I think, but we'll see when we get that in. So I'm gonna try to find some instructions, but I'm pretty sure the first thing we have to do is bolt in the K-member. Once we get the K-member bolted in, then we can start bolting in all of our control arms, get our new spindles in, get our steering rack in, and our shocks and springs, and then we'll be ready for an engine. We got the K-member in, and it sort of fits. So in my experience, I've never really seen a bolt-in suspension kit that works on a 40-something-year-old car, because as some of you guys know, these cars were built by hand, and the technology back then wasn't nearly as good as it is now. So the tolerances and the changes in the chassis from one car to the next are pretty significant compared to modern day manufacturing processes. So the only hiccup that we really ran into was this has an anti-vibration brace. It stops this backside from vibrating, I guess. So we're gonna put a bolt through it here, and then I have the actual bracket that I cut off, which is here. So we had to cut this one off to be able to get this to fit. So we'll weld this back on here and then re-bolt that through, and I'll probably sheet metal this in. Not a huge deal. it is what it is, whatever. So it's gonna be able to get us, at least we know now that I'm not gonna have any alignment issues, because the lower control arms don't have any adjustability. The upper control arms do, the lower control arms are completely fixed. So I wouldn't want one wheel in the wheel well on the passenger side to be like centered, and then the wheel on the driver's side to be off a little bit, and then you got all kinds of issues. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and put our steering rack in, lower control arms in. I'm gonna start drilling the holes for our upper shock mounts so we can put our Viking shocks in. And everything else from here on out is all pretty much bolt on and just throwing bolts through. All right, we're getting there. So we got our steering rack in. This is a really nice modern steering rack to get rid of that old box that was in here. We have the universal joints and everything to connect the dots. I'm gonna do that probably dead last to go from the factory steering column down to this nice new steering rack that we got. And we went ahead and installed our upper shock mount for our Viking coilover, so no more torsion arms, and our lower control arms are in. We also went ahead and assembled our upper control arms, so we're gonna go ahead and probably put the shock in first to get this in position, because when we go ahead and put the shock in with the spring, it's gonna actually hold our lower control arm exactly where we need it. So when we go to put the spindle in, this thing's not fighting us just to fall down every time. So once all that's in, we'll probably do like a neutral baseline of the upper control arm to be able to get our camber set kind of close to stock. I'm not really too worried about it. I'm just gonna do like a neutral point. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this together now, and this should start looking like a car again. All right, we got our IFS system completely installed, and I have to say, I was kind of worried at the beginning, but it looks pretty awesome. Check it out. So we got our Willwood spindles in, our upper and lower control arms. This is a unequal length A-arm setup because of the design of the chassis, probably. We got our Viking coilovers in there. These are really cool. I've used these in the past on other projects, and for a versatile setup, Viking makes a pretty cool shock and spring setup. They have bump and rebound here, as you can see. You can dial in your settings on your shocks, no problem. We got our upgraded steering rack in here, our sway bar installed, all polyurethane bushings. All the hardware is zinc plated, grade 8, really nice stuff. So I'd have to say, for the Wicked Customs, this kit is pretty cool. So the only thing left we have to do on this system, obviously we're missing brakes. I have to weld this piece back in, so we had to make a little modification because the difference in chassis are very, very different from one to the next, especially when you're talking about a car from the 60s and 70s. I have to weld these little holes shut, and then I'm going to throw some DTM paint so that it will etch into the metal and make a nice seal for the paint job, and then we'll just put a little paint inside there. We're going to weld this up, through bolt this. Apparently this rear mount is an anti-vibration mount. So you have your mount point here, like I said before, and then this stops it from vibrating. So we're gonna get that on the other side so we don't have any issues. We also have motor mounts that came in the kit for the Hellcat engine. So we'll use these on the next episode, guys, when we throw the engine in. We also have to do the steering. So we're gonna hook the steering shaft up. We have all these little doodads here to make some adjustment. It looks like, yeah, it looks like this is gonna work pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll the welder over, and then we'll go ahead and dive into this steering shaft situation, and then we'll be ready for an engine install. All right, we're all set with the steering system. So we got our slug all welded up, welded all here, welded on the base, welded our 4 points for our plug welds. We got our universal joints in, and we got our D-shaft cut to fit. Ethan, turn the steering wheel, let's see how it works. Oh boy, look at that. Moving the steering wheel. Yeah, so there's some play here we have to fix. I'm definitely gonna add a stabilizer right here. We're gonna wait until we get the engine in and the headers in until we do the stabilizer, because I don't know if that's gonna interfere with anything. But for right now, that's a pretty good start. I think the binding that he's feeling is the fact that this is loose still. But this is a good start. We'll be able to put a support bar stabilizer right here, like I said, and we should be able to go on to the next step. The only thing left to do now is we got to put this anti-vibration bracket back in on the driver's side. So we got our steering column in. That's looking pretty nice. Everything else is installed. I have a lot of work to do on this engine bay as far as sheet metal goes, smoothing out all the holes and everything, but we'll probably do that on the next episode. So for now, we gotta get this guy back in, and so we have to get the car back up in there, and we're gonna bring the welder over and start welding everything up, blending it in, and getting this actually through bolted so that we can complete the entire system and make sure we don't have any vibrations. All right guys, we are all set with our IFS install on our 67 Plymouth GTX. We went ahead and did the entire kit from Control Freak. And the only little hiccup we had was on the driver's side, where we had to modify that rear adjustment bolt that actually is an anti-vibration bolt, stop it from vibrating in the back there. I gave them a call and told them about like the little things that were kind of off with the kit. And they said with a 40-plus-year-old car that's a unibody, pretty normal. So we went ahead and got the K-member in there. We got our front sway bar, front steering rack. We went ahead and connected everything to the original steering system. So we have the factory steering column and wheel in there. I think it's gonna be really cool once we're moving more on this project. The idea is to put the Hellcat engine in the car, have all new everything underneath the skin, but in the interior, have it all look original. I really like that idea a lot. Next episode, guys, we're gonna continue on this engine bay. We have a lot of really odd holes that need plugged up. Plus, we're going to be redoing the AC, and we're going to be getting rid of the firewall mounting of the windshield wiper motor and this giant brake booster that we removed. So we have a couple more things we have to take off the firewall before we will go ahead and start cleaning things up. So if sheet metal is your thing, the next episode is going to be for you. We'll also be debuting our actual power plant, so you want to stick around to be able to see all of the goodies that we're going to put in this thing, and I'll have to tell you, it's pretty spicy, so it should get here next week. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you on the next episode.